visitors, and welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Sharon Bown, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Brigadier Michael May. We warmly welcome the family of Private Roy Hardman, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and by visitors to the memorial. Please stand and join in singing the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Roy Hardman. Roy Hardman was born in 1893, one of 10 children of Tasman and Isabella Hardman of the Tasmanian town of Brighton, just north of Hobart. Roy attended Brighton State School before going on to work as a farmer in the area. His mother, Isabella, died when Roy was a young boy. Roy enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in November 1914 and trained at Claremont Camp, where he formed part of the 15th Battalion, a unit comprised mainly of Queenslanders with a rifle company of Tasmanians. He completed his training with the battalion in Melbourne before sailing with the first AIF troopship convoy before Christmas. Originally destined for England, the convoy was diverted to Egypt following Ottoman Turkey's entry into the war. By April 1915, the Australian and New Zealand troops encamped in Egypt were drawn into Allied plans to force a passage through the Dardanelles in an effort to knock Ottoman Turkey out of the war. Hardman took part in the Gallipoli landings on the 25th of April 1915, coming ashore with the rest of the 4th Brigade later in the evening. Over the following days, the 15th Battalion was involved in defending Australian and New Zealand troops' tenuous hold on the precipitous terrain against growing Turkish resistance. By the end of April, it was defending a position known as Quinn's Post on the heights above Pope's Hill. So close were the Australian and Turkish trenches at Quinn's Post that the Turks dominated the position with rifle fire and frequently showered it with grenades. Roy was wounded in the stomach during one such engagement with the Turks on the morning of the 5th of May, just as the battalion was preparing to leave the frontline trenches. Stretcher bearers carried him down the rugged ridges of the Anzac beachhead, from where he was taken aboard the hospital ship HMHS Gascon to be evacuated to Egypt. But he succumbed to his wounds the following morning. Aged just 21, Roy Hardman was buried at sea. Today, he is listed on the Lone Pine Memorial alongside 5,000 Australian and New Zealand troops who died fighting on Gallipoli with no known grave. The First World War had a tremendous impact on the Hardman family. Roy's younger brother, Bertie, died of illness while serving in France, and a third brother, Harry, was medically discharged from the AIF in 1918, following service on Gallipoli and the Western Front. Roy Hardman's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, alongside almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Roy Hardman, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we shall remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial, and we wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.